So the GPS signal is not able to connect. Not the entire duration of the run, because it was a 12-mile run, so it was around the East River, so there's certain spots where eventually it did uplink with the satellites. But because of the timing, in the beginning, we had to accept the fact that there was no way to do anything but just to run, and we had very little time because we actually had this dinner that was late. It was like around 9:15, so we're trying to get the run in. So we start really late, like around 7:45, 7:50, and the moment we kind of leave the hotel, there's like this bike rack for the city bikes. So I grab a city bike to get situated from a cinematography standpoint, and we just run, or she just runs, and I have to just go with it. And I'm kind of thinking more directorially, what visuals do I want? We're kind of in Chinatown, so I'm getting certain shots of Chinatown, but I'm also thinking as we get closer to the East River, I want to preserve enough storage space on the camera, which is actually an iPhone in this case, so that there's an opportunity to get the bridges, the Brooklyn Bridge and all these other, what I think are going to be visually very impressive shots. And we're taking these, it's very touch and go because there's traffic, so it's getting to that pace. But then we both kind of make this mistake. We literally did make a mistake. We got off course because I didn't really understand that what was supposed to be the overall course. We went across, I believe it was the Manhattan Bridge, and we're kind of like at the top of this bridge, and it was just very difficult up, like you have to pedal upwards to get to the peak of the bridge. And then you realize this is like kind of dangerous because bikes are whizzing by, motorcycles, motor scooters are whizzing by us. So we have very little room to shoot or work side by side. And on top of it, we realize we're going to Brooklyn, so that's not where we want to be. So we have to turn around now. And we start going downhill, which gives me a chance to catch up to her, because what we do realize after the uplink occurs is that her pace is a ridiculous 620, like consistent, solid. Like I'm having a hard time. If I have to go uphill, I have to like abandon the camera, I have to put it to the basket and put two hands on the steering, the handlebars, and just rise up and push, because she's got a 300-400 yard distance from me, and like you'd be shocked about what it's like to try to catch up to her on a bicycle. So be it. Maybe if I had a speed bike, So what's been interesting is that we come back and we upload these videos on various social media. I'm going to go specific to TikTok, and I get these people crying bullshit on pace, because they're like, "Oh, no way." Well, first of all, that is what the Garmin indicated, and it was measurable at that point. So we were able to kind of back measure, and of course, mileage was measured. And we didn't get in all 12 miles of the run, or she didn't get in all our 12 miles because we were cut short we had to get back to the hotel by roughly, we got there at like 10 to 9, and then had to make arrangements. And the restaurant was kind enough to accommodate us, to give us an extra half an hour. It was like obviously last seating, very special meal. But the interesting thing about people questioning pace is when I spoke to Ashlee about it, I said, it gave us a chance to respond and have fun with some showing the relative relationship to her with motor scooters and people on the streets, that she was blowing everything away. She was just running to get literally her miles in. She was just trying to jam miles in, so she just naturally ran. But the exhilaration of watching somebody maintain that pace fairly effortlessly was insane. Despite the fact that, we've been together all these years and I've watched her run in all sorts of races. It's just something about the intimacy of being, that close on the city bike, and us both sort of having this feeling of need to get this pace done and cover this mileage. And I needed to get my work done from a director standpoint. I had to capture these motion pictures that I had in my head that I wanted to have. And she said, men don't believe, which is sad, that a woman can run as fast as she does. She, I guess, encountered this a lot. Sexism has been a big issue for her in various parts of her life, which is a whole another ball of wax, which I'm not going to get into in this video, or probably any videos here. But it also gave me tremendous confidence that her body's positioning, in that she's just beginning to get in shape to be able to train. In other words, getting in shape to get into better shape. These are kind of stepping stones and beyond, because she's got to get, first of all, she's trying to break through 230, which is really like, that's shaving off 8 minutes. It's a tough 8 minutes. But Boston Marathon was a very tough course. So she got through a tough course. And Molly Seidel, I point out in previous videos, and she doesn't like when I bring this up, but I feel compelled to, dropped out. She was ahead of Ashlee by about a minute. But I could tell when I was shooting at the Wellesley Scream Tunnel, it's a famous area of the race, I could see Molly's face, I could see her body posturing, that she was having some problems, just struggling. She would drop out roughly about a minute after that, which is roughly the halfway point. Ashlee was at that point a minute behind, but it was clear after the fact that she would have passed her. So that would have been significant. It would have at least shown where Ashlee can be on the world stage. But what's becoming more apparent is that I need to be more specific on these videos, with noting conditions, with noting pace. So you'll start to see a lot of this information. Now, I do see certain accounts appreciating this information. For instance, Ashlee's account attracts mostly a lot of runners, not mostly runners, I'd say a good amount of runners, at least over 1,000 runners. So they're more tuned in to this data. They're also more qualified, I think, to somewhat question it, but there's no reason for us to question. We're training in conditions that we're in Southern California now. It's very hot, it's dry, but it's not humid, but it's still hot. So runs have to happen at really early hours of the day. And then there's the other aspect, which is what we're doing now, the marketing aspect, and that's capturing these runs and, in a sense, articulating what is happening visually, and the variable equivalent. So that's it. The last thing I want to do before I wrap up this whole piece, which is really about all my running videos and why I'm shooting all these running short films and stuff, is also interesting because the drone work, which I'm in the middle of shooting a feature, incidentally. So I got these Mavic 2s, I got one like 2 years ago when we started shooting this movie. And they were pretty good workhorses. And this particular unit, I have two of them. This one made it for, I don't know, like a good year or so, and actually nose dove in Vermont. And we were shooting a water, she was swimming in the water, and it literally dove, and it survived, fine. It came out of the water, shocking, went 1 or 2 feet in the water, and it pulled out fine. But it was New York one night, late at night, unfortunately, where I tried to take off from the terrace, which I went out of my way to get this particular suite, this room. And the wind, I didn't realize was converging inside, and the sensors, you'll see these sensors on these little cameras. The one that seemed to fail was actually this guy. These sensors failed, and it backed in to the building, the actual hotel. And then it wouldn't get away. The sensor didn't understand it was hitting glass. It was reflecting. So instead of bouncing away, it actually kept forcing in, and it pretty much self-destructed. So now I've got no drone to cover for at least the period of getting my other drone up and running, which is a whole ball of wax. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching this video.